Hello and welcome everybody to the program. I'm Sergio Guerrero from Lucha Corner MMA. Today we're speaking with Manny, the Bermuda Triangle Bermudez, who faces Casey Kenney at UFC 241 this Saturday inside of the Honda Center of Anaheim, California. First of all, Manny, I want to thank you personally for taking the time out of your busy schedule, especially during fight week. I know things can get a bit hectic, but thanks again for giving me the ability to talk to you today. I know you just landed in Southern California not too long ago. I was wondering how your fight week is coming along.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually got here on Sunday, like
Okay.
around like 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I just been kind of walking around a little bit, exploring the area. And honestly, I really like Anaheim. It's a really cool place, real nice, real chill.
Nice. So you're staying inside of Anaheim?
Yeah, yep.
Nice, man. You ever been to California or Anaheim for that
No,
matter?
no, so the furthest out west I've ever been was Vegas.
Gotcha.
Vegas. And so, I don't know, that the atmosphere out here is so much different than back home.
Right. So how do you like California so far?
It's awesome. It's probably been one of my favorite places I've been to. Just the diversity and you go out and you can find like little areas of town that are like little Saigons in
Yeah.
an area up there I went to, and then I checked out there's like a Spanish market around there. I don't know, just being able to hop from one side to the
Yeah.
other just like that is cool.
I'm not sure if the Angels are in town, but if you catch a baseball game, that it's pretty exciting to watch them too. They're right around the corner, I'm sure.
Yeah, you gotta get some more
Yeah.
tips and advice on things to do.
Yeah, man. So it being fight week, I know I must bring up your last weight cut. We all know how it went down. I know you don't want a repeat of the same situation, but what are you doing differently this weight cut so that you can assure yourself that you're going to make weight Friday morning?
Yeah, no. So I mean, I actually just talked to one of the guys at the from the Performance Institute and all that, and I'm very on track to make weight. It looks like we'll be all good for that. So, I tried something different for that camp, and so now we're kind of reverting back to the old ways of doing things. So, we're all good. It's nothing to be worried about right now.
Nice. And, being that you're in Anaheim right now, fight fans in Southern California tend to be very, pro-Latin, which means for some reason the Latino fighters generate really good numbers and awesome reactions inside of the arenas here. With you being of Latin descent, are you excited to showcase your style of fighting to this Southern California crowd, especially knowing that some of them are already on your side?
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely cool. I know he's from Arizona,
Right.
so I'm not sure if they're gonna sway that way because he's from
Yeah.
closer and I'm an East Coast kid. But off the if I get more people on my side, I think it might be a first because I fought Davy Grant over in Europe. I fought Benito in Phoenix, so he had a bunch of people drive over. They were booing the hell out of me that fight, and then I fought Albert Murray. Actually, so my debut was kind of a weird one, because Florida's far away from Mass, and like Albert was from the West Coast, so we really didn't have fans, either one of us. It was it was like a neutral fight.
Gotcha. Is that something that you've been fiending for, or something that you wanted, a fight where the fans are behind you?
Um, well, I mean, I wanted to get on the UFC Boston card. Just it's not necessarily the fans. It's more like just being able to be out there with my friends afterwards, and then just get the whole experience in a
Yeah.
place as historic as the TD Garden. Because I grew up in East Boston, which is not far at all from the TD Garden, and so for one day to be able to just go fight there would have been really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Could be
and
really
I
cool.
Nice. And I was going to bring up, the UFC Boston, October 18th. UFC will be taking over the TD Garden, UFC on ESPN 6, which promises really to be a good showcase with Chris Weidman taking on, the first light heavyweight division fight with Dominic Reyes. It's right around the corner from where you're from. Like you said, you grew up in East Boston. So would that card itself, if everything goes well with this fight, if everything goes perfectly, some must say, would you want to be on that fight? And if so, who are you eyeing? Is it somebody that's on this UFC 241 card as well?
No, so I mean, 100%. I would love to hop right back in and take a fight, but I was looking at, 'cause I don't want to look past Casey or nothing like
Right,
that. So
right,
so,
right.
so I want to take it slow, but Uriah Faber, Sean O'Malley, like those guys that I've been gunning for a little bit, and if I got to fight one of those guys, it'd be cool, but. You know how big name guys like that are. Not everybody can fight them.
Right, either they want it or they don't, you know.
Yeah.
So, being that you're fighting at 241, the card includes three bantamweight fights, including your very own. In other words, fights that have been Brandon Davis versus Kyung Ho Kang, and we have Rafael Sunsal versus Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've given it much thought, but who do you see winning those matches on Saturday?
I honestly haven't given them much thought. I haven't really seen too much of Davis. Besides, he fought my friend Randy Costa his last fight, and he just looks super tough, super durable. Um, I haven't seen his opponent. Who's he fighting again?
Yeah, Kyung Ho Kang.
Okay, I don't
Yeah.
think I've seen him fight. And then Sandhagen versus Sunsao was an interesting one too because Sandhagen's very talented, very skilled, but Sunsao's he's been here.
He's a vet.
He's like a vet. So
Hmm.
I mean, if I assume that's like a title contender lineup fight, right? That must be.
I mean, he's ranked fourth in the rankings. So, I mean, can you see yourself fighting either of the win of those fights if you come out on top?
I mean, I think they're trying to like get me, somebody like I think it's gonna like work its way up to that because, we're trying to really build like a whole thing. First of all, sorry, I just went off.
No, you're
We're
good.
trying we're trying to sorry, just went off again. we're just trying to build me up right now. Get as many paychecks as I can. Run out a couple contracts, but if they need me to fight, I'll fight. It's my job.
And, Manny, you're definitely one of the hottest prospects in the UFC right now. You're currently 14-0, 3-0 in the UFC. You finished 12 of your last 14 wins, with 11 of those wins coming by submission. You were really close to grabbing that goose egg of a fight with Uriah Faber, but even without the fight, you're still considered serious prospect for the bantamweight division. And in today's age, where it's harder for the younger guys to make a name for themselves, especially when they're fresh in the UFC's career, to who and what do you accredit all the success to, and how do you maintain that drive to pursue your rise to the top?
Yeah, no, I mean it's always been the people that have made me, built me. It's Social Sport Fighting, it's Rugged RX Fitness, and it's Cage Titans and all my friends back home. All those people, 'cause I've been with the same school for like 11, 12 years at this point, and I've done nothing but take their advice. I've never thought about switching over schools, nothing like that. So. Uh, Everything I've gone up to this point, I'd attribute to them.
Nice. And I know you've also gotten some work along with being at South Shore Sports Fighting in the UFC PI in Vegas. And I've heard you talking about training with a former opponent of yours in Tony Gravely, who
Yeah,
fights Ray Rodriguez at Dana White's Contender Series in about like less than an hour now.
yeah.
Can you talk about the type of work you guys both put in and prepare each other for your battles inside of the cage this week?
So what the PI has done for me,
Like what you guys have done as far as like training with each other, because I know you guys have talked and have some type of conversations with each other, right?
yeah. I mean, no, me and him talk. Me and him are buddies, but
Yeah,
we haven't like trained with each other. But
gotcha.
we're just cool. We're cool with each other.
Sweet.
I think I'm cool with most of my opponents afterwards.
So how do you see Tony winning the fight?
I haven't really looked up this guy that he fought, but I mean, he's a beast wrestler, and he hits hard. I've seen his ground and pound. Smart fighter. So I think he's probably looked up a lot of his opponent's tape and then found the right way to implement his game plan. So
So who inspired you? At a young age, who inspired you to get into the martial arts world?
no, I just kind of want to do it myself. When I was younger, I think I saw it in like a magazine or something like that, and then I think I was like 12, 13, and I was like, oh, like I think it'd be cool to be a cage fighter.
Right.
And then next thing I know, like I'm looking up schools, and then like I found one. Like I said, Social Sport Fighting was only like 2 miles away from my house, so I would like walk there on Sundays. Got my parents showing me, and then like my coach Bill Mahoney kind of took me under his wing, and just like I think an important part of it was like I kind of fell in love with it off the bat. Just learning how to take your bumps and bruises and just um, adapt yourself and become better through it. Um, but I forget where I was going with this, but
So your opponent, Casey Kenney, The guy is a very tricky fighter, of course. He's 2 fights. It's going to be a second fight in his UFC career. Most of his career he fought at LFA, where he's won both 125, 135 division titles, and most recently defeated Ray Borg. What impresses you the most about Casey Kenney and his resume so far?
I mean, obviously the resume itself. He's 12-1. But stylistically, he's very very calm, very composed. You can tell he puts a lot of thought into these fights before, but he's got a good rear hand. He's just a good fighter all around. He's a durable guy. So he's gonna be a tough nut to crack, but I got him.
And what type of introduction do you plan on giving him into the bantamweight division in the UFC?
Probably a mean one.
Well, I mean, that'll be great for the fans to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and your weight cut, I'm glad is going well again. Your fight week, I hope everything is going as planned. Manny, again, I want to thank you again for coming on, and I appreciate your time and wish you nothing but the best against Casey Kenney this Saturday at UFC 241 during the preliminary card inside of the Honda Center of Anaheim. I'll be there inside of the arena watching in person, but for all of those who aren't watching inside of the arena or are going to be watching from home, 14-0 Manny, the Bermuda Triangle Bermudez, will be taking on Casey Kenney. It all airs on ESPN at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. For Sergio Guerrero, here at Neutral Corner MMA, signing out with Manny Bermudez. And as forever, they keep fighting. I keep posting. Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
man.
All right.